guarantee that they're gonna think about our sides and our fronts and backs and stuff.
These almost want a version where faces.
Yes, absolutely.
Good, all right, yeah, Pam. Call this Housing Commission meeting to order. Hey, we do have quorum. As previously emailed, sorry, I forgot about you, Doug. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as read?
I can make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, that's good.
Public comments right off the bat.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Yep. Let's do public comments, first section of public comments. Anybody have a public comment? Please keep it to 3 minutes or under if you could. Anyone? Anyone? All right. We've already approved the agenda and the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I don't think there's so, can I support?
I'll support. Favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. Chris, you're up.
Morning, Chris.
Morning, everyone.
Excellent.
How are
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. You got to me quick.
Yeah.
If you want to just flip to the next page. So kind of just a fairly brief update today, but happy, obviously, for as far as, my comments are concerned, but happy to answer any questions that people have. I want to start off and I'll get into the pipeline and all that fun stuff. But just wanted to raise a few things because of just kind of what's happening out in the broader environment, whether you guys had these questions or were thinking of it or not sure, but a number of the folks, our customers and people we're lending to have asked us some questions. So, with all the things happening in DC, there were an executive order that came down initially a couple weeks ago that, talked about in effect eliminating the CDFI fund. So as a reminder, IFF is a community development financial institution. At the federal level, there's a CDFI fund. It rolls, it's under Treasury. It's funded annually, by the feds. And then those dollars that go in, it's usually about $300 million a year. Those dollars that go in it then are granted into CDFIs, the thousands of CDFIs around the country, to create kind of net assets, right? It's just pure bottom line. Every dollar of net assets we have, we can lend $5. So it creates that kind of leverage. So there are some executive orders that came out that said, hey, this might go away. That has kind of been walked back, like a number of these things have. CDFIs do have tons of bipartisan support. We've been working in Washington with some of our policy team and with some of our friends and their policy teams and making sure that support is reinforced by our representatives and our senators and all of that. Then Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, did come out and say, look, CDFIs are very important, in this country. So, certainly we want to maintain them, going forward. So, we've had some noise. I had people calling me, et cetera, about this. So just want to kind of put that out there. Second bullet point, though, the CDFI fund, again, it's an important source of capital for CDFIs, but especially for CDFI of IFF size. Yep, it's great to get those dollars, but even if it was to get shut off, we have well-diversified revenue streams, a strong balance sheet, lots of capital to lend at this point in time. And so we would continue on. So there's no thoughts, we had a couple customers calling us or potential customers saying, oh my gosh, are you still gonna be able to do my loan, et cetera, et cetera. So just in case that's out there in the ecosystem, I hadn't heard a ton of it necessarily from some of the housing developers, although we did hear a little bit. So want to make sure if you guys happen to be in conversations and people are aware of some of that you're able to then say, no, we're cool, no impact. Where we were kind of looking at it, there's the grant side of things. Then also some of our customers, especially, there's some in the housing space, but also early childhood centers, health clinic, federally qualified health clinics. There's several nonprofits out there that get their revenue or part of their revenue from federal dollars. And so, our concern is, are they going to have the revenue to pay IFF back? Is there going to be any issues in our portfolio, et cetera? And right now, knock on, wood or whatever this is, we're not seeing any issues relative to that. So, we're monitoring it, aggressively. So any questions on that before I get into the housing fund specifically? Hearing none, I'll keep going. So, one of the things, and I'll turn to the next page in a second, or actually, go ahead and we can turn to the next page. One of the things that we're seeing and I'm excited about is we're starting to see more demand picking up, in Ottawa County. For a while, we're seeing tons of demand in Kent County, and we had kind of stagnated a little bit here in Ottawa. There's a couple of projects, you guys have not, had me, in here talking about in the Colin Park in Holland. There's a couple loans on there. One, the two ones that are highlighted in blue are, housing TIF, related. So our team separated them because I do want to come back around and talk to that. So we've got that deal there. And actually, excitingly, we have another deal in Grand Haven. Excited, we have our partnership with the Community Foundation there. And I want to make sure that we're finding deals there. So their community land trust is looking to do, I believe it'd be their second deal. And so these deals, at least a handful of them are coming from Dwelling Place. They're starting to get more active in Ottawa County. We partnered with them in a couple projects in Kent County, but they're definitely looking to do more out in Ottawa County. So again, you can see, aggregating up, the total development costs, 500 plus units of housing as all these, get together, 435 of which are affordable. And so, moving forward, still have some availability of capital. Obviously, with regards to the county dollars, you can see almost 6.8 million of the 10 million of the county funds have been deployed in addition then to our leverage dollars. We will start seeing, I know we had the ribbon cutting at the Spring Lake project here a month or two ago. So we're going to start seeing as some of those things start happening. We're going to see dollars getting recycled. As a reminder, whether, some of our dollars maybe were construction loans that then as permanent debt comes in, we're going to recycle them. Some of them may have been bridge loans for various sources of funding. As those funds come in, we're going to recycle them. And then also, as we had discussed previously, we're members of the Federal Home Loan Bank, and we can, recapitalize our portfolio as that, shifts to permanent debt too. So we're going to start seeing some of these deals starting to recycle our capital, redeploy, which is a way, again, we're increasing our leverage. So again, excited about where we're headed. And then I would like to say though, and that was my last bullet point on the previous slide. I'm actually really excited to hear about this project and, the things you guys have going on, but just continue to put it out there. I want to make sure that we're trying to think about strategic ways to integrate the various tools that Ottawa County has available, the various TIF tools and other things as you guys are thinking, as the county's thinking broadly, as the Housing Commission's thinking about things. I want to make sure we're getting strategic. As an example, in Kent County, we're really pivoting into some of their corridor strategies that Housing Next is putting forth, thinking about how to attract developers to 3 or 4 very specific places by making sure that we're stacking all the tools effectively and maximizing each tools. I do want to get to the point in Ottawa County where we're really thinking about that, whether that's, whether we're ready for it today or in the future. I think that's the way, we'll keep responding to need as it's presented, but I really want to make sure that we're thinking about maximization of all the tools available and attracting developers where you guys. So that's all I got for you today. Any questions on any of that?
So where it says perm term, is that where how long it takes them to pay it back?
Yeah, so yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
But again, as a reminder that we can, once it does flip to the perm, we can recycle the capital and get it out. So
Are those interest rates? These loans are at 5%, 6%, maybe renegotiate.
yeah, so typically when we do, so by the customer, you're saying, or? Yeah, in fact. So typically how we do our lending is we will lock in that rate. We'll make a 15 or 17-year deal. The deal stays for that time. We don't renegotiate the deal in the interim, but what we can do is reset rates every 5 years. typically. And so, analyzing at that point in time, 5 years, from the original date, can that rate go up or down? Yes, no, maybe so. So we will analyze that at that time, but they're locked initially for this 5 years. And as a reminder too, relative to the rate, because we blended in both the county's capital, the foundation's capital, MEDC capital, we've been able to, bring those rates lower than market. So about a third of the capital again is county dollars. The rest we're responsible for finding either from our balance sheet or other investors. The rate we then charge to the customers is the blended, that blended cost of capital plus the spread, and that's how we go out there. But market rates right now for, these types of, the types of loans we're talking about are more like 7.25, 7.5. So we've still been able to stay well below market because we've had that capital.
Yeah, I was thinking about the future. So after 5 years, possibly negotiated a lower.
Yes, for sure.
Any interest or conversation with partners on making stuff?
Not that I'm aware of. I know we were in some conversations in like Hudsonville and
Yeah.
places like that, but I think a couple of those projects, I was just talking to David DeValder, our lender. I think a couple of those projects are moving forward. They just didn't need this capital, which is great, right? Like, we're there for the folks that need it. And if they can get it done, via the existing market, that's cool. So not that we're not having those conversations. It's just, hasn't manifested to need this, these dollars.
Are you seeing pushback from anybody in Ottawa County for some of these projects from like a municipality level or?
Not that I'm aware of, but David hasn't mentioned anything to me. I don't know if, Paul, if you can speak to that, if you're seeing any kind of pushback anywhere.
Not from emerging projects, maybe that we'd be seeking capital and looking at the fund. But following up on your comment about being more strategic here in Ottawa, I think that's very timely.
Okay.
I think we do need to do that, and Housing Next is an entity, they recently lost their executive director.
Yeah.
And so Housing Next is going through a reassessment with, their leadership. And as we think more intentionally, we've kind of recognized this to have some more dedicated technical support from that housing space, supporting the work of the Housing Commission and overall the needs of the county. So I'd like to make sure that we continue to engage in those discussions because we're open to it, and especially as we rethink how Housing Next can better serve Ottawa.
Yeah.
It's going to be an important almost trifecta, if you will, of partners.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, whenever you're ready to, I mean, obviously some of these will be ongoing, but if we need like a deeper strategic dive, happy to have me and, my team be a part of that.
I think that's very important. And there has been more focus in Kent County. Like we have seen that, and they've got that boots on the ground where to help to identify sites, especially in the city of Grand Rapids, right? They got the resources, they're looking at spaces.
They have the room for it.
And they have the room right for it, yes. And as we think about projects here, with our small footprint homework, it is finding sites, pulling partners together, figuring out the capital and moving at something. We need to do more of that for activation in the right areas. So just having you there is an opportunity for developers and nonprofits.
For sure. And I think, again, as an example of, some of the stuff we're doing there, we've even started having conversations with the state land bank to say, look, if in some of these strategic places, we need to get site control so that you can, RFP to developers or whatever, can they be a partner, right? So those
Yes.
types of conversations, what is the holding vehicle? So that then, those parcels can be aggregated and then, put to use. So yeah, would love to, continue working on that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Things are still humming along.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. Appreciate, again, still stoked about
Right.
what we're doing here. Getting lots of dollars out the door, getting lots of units built, but continue to look to get to that level.
One more question.
Yeah.
Is our goal to tap out that full 10 mil?
I mean, our goal certainly is to, yes, yeah, the answer is yes, but again, that doesn't mean you shut things off. It means,
Right.
again, it's capital recycled.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we're not in, and again, to be clear, we're not in a case where we're gonna be like, hey, the dollars are gone, we're not gonna lend anymore. We're gonna keep recycled capital, keep looking to grow it. I'm still out trying to talk to investors, some family offices, some other foundations, et cetera. Hopefully kind of trying to create some value propositions for some of the corporate community to invest in the fund. Had started to have some of those conversations. So ideally, we grow it, but at the very least, we're recycling it. And moving forward.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right. Okay, Matt.
Got some exciting updates. To
Right.
start with though, since we last met, I think 2 months ago, I had a productive meeting with Scott Corbett in Grand Haven. And one thing that we've been hearing a lot and what might help combat some of our falling into the weeds on doing a tiny home, defined with our smallest concept. We've made a slight change to the first concept. So you have a printout of the updates there. And so effectively what we've done is just grown 2 feet towards the front. And since Katie's original renderings, I think that made us realize there was an issue with some flow with the furniture placement in that front room. And so we feel that growing this was a good move and has really helped with not only the interior, but also the definition of our project now too. No longer falls under International Building Code as a tiny home.
So we have a safe separation of like 80 square feet.
40 square.
40.
You got a up
square feet
40.
Away
All
from
right,
tiny
all
home threshold.
Yep.
Yeah, great.
And that's important.
400 is the limit.
Yes. Because 400 and under, right? And when some of the media outlets have been describing the project, they're usually tiny. So,
Right.
no, that's not it. It's like mentally,
It's a negative
people
connotation.
go the wrong way. Yes, we're talking traditionally sized homes.
Yeah, so in Katie's renderings, especially the first concept, I think helped us notice some things that, aren't evident until you start trying to live in a space and put furniture in. So now bar stools, that island counter can actually pull out. We've gotten a little more practical with the first design, which is great. On the topic of Katie's renders too, we received the latest batch of renderings, which is some are displayed behind you on the board. So we're really thankful to her for providing all of this work. On the board are 2 what we call dollhouse views on the right side of the in-town concept floor, so the largest 1,056 square foot unit. And Katie took the liberty of adding 2 design options, which is a really nice touch. So on the upper sheet, you can see the living room shows an option A with a floating couch and 2 chairs anchored around the media center. And you can see a render of that on the left. And then additionally, the back corner bedroom shows a queen size bed laid out in that bedroom. And then on the lower page, you can see an option B shown. So you have like an L-shaped sofa love seat set up. And then the back bedroom shows a slight variation with a twin bed and a little workspace, which is really nice for people to start envisioning how they can use the space and live in it in different ways. These homes, especially when we get past the smaller first concept, start becoming places that a lot of people, including us, could live. It's not just a studio apartment for a single person, but rather starts to become more like a family.
Quick question, where's the furnace gonna go?
I was wondering if that's with the
Yeah.
utility closet there.
So as we get into costing, and the utility closet is at the
I
end
see
of
the
that
water
hallway.
heater,
Yeah, so that's a tank water heater.
Okay.
One thing we're still trying to get in the books is a meeting with an HVAC contractor. So I think right now the thought is that hopefully the equipment lies outside with some sort of heat pump. But if we're not able to do a heat pump, we're gonna have to start getting creative with where we place utilities.
Like mini splits would be an
A
option,
mini split, sure,
Yeah, yeah.
that would be an example of. a
at
heat
least
pump.
for 800 and less would be a good option.
One of
And-
the things we talked about last time was storage, and I think we briefly discussed maybe eave storage. That's a possibility. Have you looked into that anymore?
Yeah, so we have spec storage trusses for all of the concepts, so that there is some storage up there. As far as starting to place, utilities into the attic space, that's not something that we've gotten into yet. And that might be tricky from a building code standpoint. Definitely something that we need to look into, but, one thing that we've considered is like tankless on-demand hot water heaters. They make units now, which albeit are more expensive, but are like about this size, you know, like 8 inches by 12 inches. And so does a unit like that start living, you know, underneath each sink where you get hot water right to the source? That's a conversation that Scott Corbett and I had, which starts to adopt more of a like European style of approach to mechanicals, but that's something that we feel will have a lot more certainty once we get a meeting with an HVAC partner. So along those lines, I have quite a few emails and calls out to subcontractors, and I know Clint's been working on some pricing for us too. There are some things that we just haven't heard back on yet though, and haven't had great luck with responses. That being said, I think we have a HVAC partner that is gonna work with us and help give us some information. So hopefully that pulls through. But in the meantime, what you'll see in front of you is our costing spreadsheets revisited with kind of an engineer's approach to costing, so some educated guesswork. So what we've done is gone through and taken numbers that we especially had for the smallest concept, and we've scaled them for each of the three larger concepts. So what's newest is we have pricing now on the following pages for concepts 2, 3, and 4. The number that you're really gonna wanna notice is the effective valuation subtotal on the second spreadsheet page. That's just our sum of all the estimated costs without builder markup and other soft costs like that. These numbers do not, however, include great attention to like shared site features, so communal spaces, parking, fireways, those
Like
elements.
infrastructure style for more of a development.
Yeah.
It's more focused on the individual house. Some numbers, however, like under site work or, excuse me, under flat work, you'll notice like each home has like a parking allotment for a 10 by 20 corner surface, which is the size of the parking space. So some of those considerations have been, we've tried to put those in, but
Yeah, it's gonna be really site specific and site dependent and municipality dependent in terms of what common features we want to introduce to a project that may be unique to kind of a typical site cost, site improvement cost. So we've not maybe got every scenario thought of in that number. It's more of a minimal approach at this point. We'd be curious to hear, Jared, this number here. What is your reaction to this number at the last page?
The effective and value.
Yeah.
Valuation subtotal.
the concept.
Concept
For
for,
concept, honestly, I just had a builder quote at 25 by 25 addition.
okay,
It's gonna be 2 bed, 1 bath on a slab, and it's gonna be 112
okay,
with his fees, excavation, everything. So we're not too terribly far off with that. When you look at what more is in this with HVAC and plumbing and, you know, it's substantially, I mean, you have electrical equipment, your furnace, all of that stuff is in addition
right,
to that too, so. 226 a square foot would be a dream to build for right now. If we could pull that off, that would be huge. But again, it is so site specific. And a developer is only gonna do it if it makes sense. So if the infrastructure is already there, great. But if we're talking about well and septic, well, now we need more space for bladder tank and control equipment and all that stuff for a well. And the furnace is gonna be I think our biggest struggle. Where to put that heat source is in the attic space in winter. It's really, really hard on heating equipment to be in the cold there, so. It's just really hard on the heat exchanger, so. But in my opinion, until we have literally a piece of property planned out, or even a scenario. Like I had to even volunteer part of my property to say, hey, let's build an ADU, and let's do it here, see what it costs. But Annandale Township.
Yeah. Well, we do have a property that we've been kicking around that's still confidential, that is something that a nonprofit potential partner has identified.
Mhm.
And so at the very least, it does have real property lines. We can use it to
Right.
calculate like how big is it, what
For sure.
municipality is it hypothetically, if
Right.
we move forward.
Yep.
We've got like, our fire lane going through there,
Mhm.
pavement and parking spaces, and dumpster enclosures and things like that. That
Yep.
I think start to build that whole picture.
Right,
So that's available to us a little bit in the background at this
Mhm.
point, and part of that process is marching along with the nonprofit and making sure that, all right, now we gotta bring in some more partners so that we make sure that we're looking at this properly, is it
Yeah.
okay to share this, and so we're just being mindful of that, but that's not only is it a helpful kind of case study property, but it may turn out to be a property that we actually build on too, so we kind of have a twofold plus with that particular property. And then this is totally hypothetical. This is on some land that actually Hope College owns. So we used it as a hypothetical because we don't think, Hope College is gonna be threatened by us putting little
Right.
houses on it. But even this, we could run some scenarios on it now that we have, acreage and property lines and municipality and all that. So.
right. And I think it goes back to our original discussion of when this all started, is the mindset of municipalities and zoning. Is huge, because if we can change that mindset, or at least change that zoning opportunity, then somebody could plug this in for their grandparent or their parents on their own parcel.
Yeah.
And still produce more housing that's available, needed. Not so much as a developer standpoint, but most people who've been in their houses for 10, 15 years have this much equity already in their house currently, so they can almost pay cash for, once they sell theirs, to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that would free up so much inventory.
Absolutely. That's part of where we want all of this to go. You're
Right.
exactly right. We've got to prove this out.
Right.
That you can get the price point where it needs to be, and then the visuals are critical for people to wrap their heads around what we're talking about. Working with local units of government, we're having multiple conversations with local leadership that said, we have an interest in this, but they're almost starting from, many of them, at square one.
Yeah.
And understanding what we're talking about to build it up. It's a mindset shift. So all of this work, it's strategic in a way to get to where we need to go, and all the open source work of the designs that Matt's doing, it all helps as well to make it a lot easier, make it a lot more cost effective for anyone. So these are styles of homes that exist today in Ottawa County. Have at it. Do it, proved it out. So build up. There shouldn't be anything stopping us other than getting over the mindset locally and with residents.
But have you been able to, take this to another, numerous builders and say, and kind of almost average it out and say, are we on par? You know what I mean?
Not in aggregate, but in piecemeal.
Okay.
That's kind of been our approach.
Yeah.
But I think we are eager to continue to do that. We got big builders, volume builders, and like more one-off type
Right.
builders who look
Yeah.
at this very differently.
Yeah.
So that,
Because those are two different projects too. The one-offs are gonna do the ones that are, hey, I got 2 acre parcel here, I'd like to throw a couple here. Developers are gonna be like, hey, I can put 40 here.
Yeah.
So,
we also would like to grow some models like this of more typical houses.
Yeah.
So that we can park those next to these and demonstrate that they can kind of live in harmony with each other.
right,
So, yeah, and to the zoning reform topic and the conversations that we've been engaged with local units of government. It's probably gonna be a both and approach where we are starting to really kind of progress with local units of government to walk alongside them as they contemplate zoning updates.
Yep.
But at the same time, have the door open for potential PUDs that start to demonstrate some of these zoning updates kind of live in real time. And then also something like this, where it's a physical 3D model that is more tangible than maybe just pictures and, you know, blueprints and stuff. Can this be used for public engagement? So you go as a member of the public to a public open house and there's tables set out with these kinds of things on the tables. And then you look at, you know, the map of your community and you start to imagine, well, okay, we could probably imagine this over here, over here. And that, you know, really helps us bolster the kind of engagement buy-in that we think we need, and that certainly the local elected and appointed staff leaders think they need, so that they're not kind of sticking their neck out and doing something that's not appropriate for the sentiments of their communities. So I think we're starting to get a body of materials here with pricing, blueprints, presentation sheets, beautiful, beautiful dollhouse view
Oh,
graphics.
yeah.
And then these, which are just kind of fun for all ages, where we could go in and have a pretty, like, I think a pretty effective conversation.
What other question is, you've got 9 units here. Let's say you did not have sewer available. Does the state, health code and the local health code allow for combining building one more economical system?
I'm not
Serve them
fully
all?
versed on what those thresholds are for like shared septic
They do.
systems.
Yeah, yeah, Placid Waters, man, has shared systems.
Certainly wells do that. No community wells exist in the county.
That's important to consider our groundwater issue.
Yeah.
People brought that up, like, okay, you wanna have more dense development, but it has to only be in an area with infrastructures. Not necessarily, as long as you do it thoughtfully in the right areas. Shared wells reduce cumulative impact on static water levels. So that would be a demonstration as well on how to really balance that type of infrastructure component with this housing.
But then you'd end up with the HOA fee probably. Paying that.
Or a mutual agreement, you know, kind of like if you had a shared driveway or a shared private road. It's a private agreement where it spells out who's responsible for what, and maintenance and cost.
For many of these projects, we might still do an HOA with an HOA fee, because like in the, not necessarily these ones as much because they kind of look out on public rights of way. But if they were clustered around a little cottage court, a little pocket, you know, bungalow court, or even like the middle of that, like the interior alley that's created like that, that could be a feature that, you know, is for kids and dogs and stuff, and we would want to make sure that that is addressed in a HOA, yeah.
Much as I don't like HOAs, that makes sense.
Yeah. And actually, that's one of the questions that comes up a lot with the local units of government, like, you know, also have, you know, attach an HOA to this to give us some assurance that, you know, keep lawns,
Well, then that way they can
landscaping.
kind of not have to be in control of it either.
So I think next steps are, I think this gets us to a better place, with just at least having some generic costing numbers for all of the concepts now, instead of just the first. But like you said, Jared, I think what we'll do next is start to create an iteration of this spreadsheet that plugs in values from Clint and the large scale developers as we get pricing back, and take an average of all those numbers, so we have like a best case.
Yeah.
Costing. The print sets are almost updated, from all of Scott's markups, and once we reach that point, then we do have, in a sense, pre-approved, sheet sets for all the in-town concepts. So our focus is now shifting to detailing out some of the finer elements, like the brackets, which didn't print out on the models, but for the canopies and, little details like that, so that those things become clearly buildable and the instructions are good on how we want those to look.
Yeah, this is fantastic, so people can see, like, is that to scale-ish?
It's at 1/16 scale.
Okay,
So, and then the site plan is same scale, so
Okay.
really
Really
grounds
close.
you in realism real
Right,
quick.
right.
In terms of fire lanes and
Yeah,
parking spaces and all of that,
Yeah.
so
setbacks and whatnot.
setbacks,
Yeah.
everything, yeah.
Yeah. Cause that'll be the other thing too, if we're trying to put two, is setbacks are gonna be key.
Yeah. So, the other thing that this reveals is the designs are pretty good at facing in certain directions and they have like a blank wall.
Yeah.
In other directions. And so we have a set here of 24 pieces. These were printed at, actually Notre Dame School of Architecture, so, for free. So that was a
Nice.
nice little thing. But this, when you send the blueprints to, let's just say a nonprofit, developer, and the nonprofit has an engineer that they use and work with all the time for site layouts, it's not immediately the first thing that everybody's gonna think of is like, where's the fronts and sides and backs that we wanna use to kind of shade
Where's the
and
elevations?
address the spaces. And this allows for us to vet that out and demonstrate, like, you don't just drop this one down willy-nilly, you might want the mirrored version of it so that the window faces in the right
Right,
direction.
right.
things like that.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that will improve the overall site. design.
Oh, for sure.
The porches can be mirrored, so you can make a decision as a developer, do you want the porches to be like this, where you have, you know, a little bit more separation, or is it somehow aligned with the vision and the mission of that project to have more like this, where they're closer together for some, you know, neighborly, you know, interaction that's part of a priority of the programming. There's examples where you can these do the same thing, so these are like either two private secluded little porches, or it's almost like a little shared space that's created out of those porches, and then we also have an example where these ones, you can have this be like that shared little space, but then actually you can make it like a wider shared little space if you insert one in the middle. There's all these little things that are kind of baked into the floor plans actually, that we haven't quite wrestled with yet, but we think are gonna be important once we get real sites.
The progress, if we just rewind a year, this is just incredible. And we wouldn't be here without the dedication and investment that you both have lent to this and the team. I mean, this is incredible to see. So,
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. The sport of Nick and Matt is outstanding, and I'll reiterate again, is this project is getting so much attention just outside of them doing the nuts and bolts stuff that we know we need to do to lift things up and educate. The number of contacts that we get consistently from local governments, nonprofits, developers, individuals on like, what are you doing? This is great. Okay, we want to get involved, we want to learn more. How do we move this forward? That just validates where we're going with it is a need.
Are those local people that are reaching out?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Nice.
And many local units of government.
That's good
as
to hear.
well, as they're starting to assess zoning and master planning. This project, right, it's out in the communities and their residents are telling their local officials, look at this. Build this into our zoning code. So we're getting.
Well, and you may want to also mention that, any day now, I don't know if you guys are aware of the podcast that Scott Vander's
Just started watching today.
Yeah.
They came out this morning.
Oh, okay, great. I hadn't seen it this morning.
Yeah, you guys are,
I've obviously.
look
taken
great
out
on it.
Right, yeah, that was
It's like,
my-
man, we got celebrities
That
here.
was my first time being on that, but,
Yeah.
obviously, generating more conversation and breaking down the real specifics of the projects and trying to debunk some of the misinformation.
Yeah, I think it all needs to be shared from all of our, potential platforms, just because there is a lot of misinformation out there from the tiny home,
Yes.
viewpoint, and it would be remiss if we didn't send it to each one of our local officials as well.
Yeah,
Eric,
absolutely.
working, could Pam share that out with us?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just want to mention Katie's great work too. If I knew how to render like that, I'd be a game changer for me, but it's just such a great tool.
That's a
And
gift.
it's amazing that Katie stepped up and has been willing to share her abilities with us for this project because, some people are, kind of think about the outside and setting up, on the site. Some people are totally about this. And so now we kind of can present intelligently, at all scales. So this is really critical work.
1,000 square feet looks so livable.
Oh, yeah.
The way it's spaced out. That's a great vision.
I know we talked about it before, but the second bath, to have the access be more in the hallway.
Yeah,
is-
we did change that on the prints.
Oh, you did?
Like, came
Okay.
in the old
Gotcha,
set, but
Yeah.
yeah, did make that
yeah,
modification.
because when you have guests, they don't want to go through your bedroom.
Yeah, well, that was a great change.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I honestly, with the amount of clients that I have, that would go for this, and if it, a lot of people are scaling down, even with decent sized families are scaling down, because they realize they don't, need 3,000-4,000 square feet.
Have the opportunity to go to our site when these are ready. I want to build this on a lot that I've got, and they can download it and use these prints to refine them.
That's huge.
Actual construction's huge.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's a huge savings too, for,
absolute part of it.
we just
Yep.
got drawings done for a client on a bill and it was $3,500.
Yep.
So,
You save that right off the bat.
Right.
And it's got such great local heritage and context and aesthetics. Yes.
so where's our next steps? Where do we want to go from here, or need to go from here to keep the ball rolling?
To that.
Sure.
Continuing plugging costing is just alongside everything that we're doing. But getting the print sets now to expand to our different contexts, right? So we're gonna start manipulating the exteriors. And if you remember way back when we first started the project, when we did our character defined features work,
Mhm.
we defined the Lake Dune context, all of those different places in the county. And so now the exteriors are gonna get a little bit manipulated, to reflect those different design styles. And I think one of the conclusions we've come to too is that there's gonna be a supplementary sheet that will maybe show a basic detail, like this porch. And this porch can be constructed the same way, but look a lot different. Maybe the columns change from an AZAC wrapped column to something with like a Simpson strong tie support and like a natural cedar brace. And so we'll start outlining how the structure remains the same, but the aesthetics greatly change and provide suggestions on how people can kind of personalize these.
And then we just had a number of irons in the fire on actual sites.
Yeah.
As well as zoning efforts at the municipal level that we're continuing to track with.
And
Do we
that,
think we're gonna have Katie produce more renderings, or is this gonna cover it?
Is she up for it, Chris? Yeah, cool. Good.
that's good thing my wife's not here to see that. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate your work.
Well done.
New business, Paul, you have anything for us?
Nothing additional today. Thank you.
Second round of public comments. Anybody?
Once, Steve.
Good morning, Steve Gross from Drew Ministries. And just want to give you a quick update on our first project using the funds from Ottawa County. We have full approvals from the state for stormwater and everything. So the project will kick off, it's on the corner of 20th and Ottawa in Holland. Project will kick off in the next couple weeks. Start moving dirt there. Right now, with some, between the money that we received from Ottawa County and some grants that we've been able to ladder, price points for there'll be 2 bedrooms, 2 bath condos or townhomes. And, the price point for 2 of them will be $160,000. And 2 of the other 4 that we build will be $199,000. So we're trying to get under that 200,000 mark, which has not been easy. We've had to do some value engineering to get there. But we think that price point is really critical for us in that neighborhood to bring it in there. So Habitat, they'll be building 5 on that site. They set their price based on, buyers' income. It'll be probably below where we're at.
When do you think those will be completed?
We're anticipating a construction timeline of 7 to 8 months.
Okay.
So, hopefully by the first of the year. We'll be all set there. Then we have another project that, I can just say that it's moving forward, and, if that comes to fruition, we will, between, the two of us and another partner, be building over 100 homes. So, all in that price range.
Whereabouts would those be, or just kind of scattered about?
It'll be one site.
One side?
Yeah.
Okay. Whereabouts would
I
that? I don't want to say.
can't say yet.
Okay.
Can't say.
Is it in Ottawa County?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
And that wouldn't be possible without, the support we've got from the county. It's, that's brought some others to the table. And again, we're stacking these grants to make things.
Is there gonna be an income requirement for those townhomes?
Yeah, so, the income requirements between Jubilee and Habitat, and that's why we partner, is between 30% and 120% of the area median income. Habitat goes up to 80, we pick up at 80 and go to 120.
Gotcha. It's nice to hear about.
So next time I'll bring pictures of
Yeah,
foundations. and
Love it.
Things like that.
thanks for
Yep.
coming.
Thank you, Steve. Great. All right, anybody else? Public comment? Good. Good.
Unless you got anything specific for Katie, I'll.
No,
relay it to her.
give her our thanks, truly. I mean, this is fantastic work, so. Without that visual, it's really hard for, was it right, left brain? I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy, so, yeah, whatever one I don't have, to do that, so, yeah, it's great.
Very fun to do, watch her.
Oh, yeah, I bet, yeah. She has a gift, for sure. All right, other business, the housing needs assessment, you had chatted about that a little bit.
Yeah, quick update. So that housing needs assessment, the first one that was conducted was 2019 for the county. And that just kind of set the baseline of where we're at housing needs with a variety of housing stocks from rental to for sale units and price range. Very, very valuable report. The next update was another 4 years later, 2022, I think that was. So now we're into the latest update, 2025. We don't have that data yet, but we have set the event when it will be released. And that's coordinated through Housing Next. And the West Coast Chamber has set up a registration to attend this event. So after the meeting, I'll have Pam send you the link if you want to register. The data release event will be held here in the main conference room, just beyond that wall right there.
I think that'll be streamed virtually.
It should be.
That'd be
Yep,
great.
I will look into that. Yep, talk with the group organizing it. Good idea.
Next meeting, we have a conflict on that date.
So,
May Day?
Big, military parade date in Rochester.
May 1st.
Yeah.
Isn't that traditionally leave
That-
something on
Normally
the
doesn't happen on that
produce
account
or
as well.
something?
The following, well, not the following week. Week of the May 12th is that Monday. Anybody have 15th? That would for you guys?
What?
Does it have to be on a Thursday?
No,
It doesn't.
I mean,
that
it is nice.
Friday's a lot more flexible.
16th.
16th might be a lot more flexible. I could be present maybe for part, but I do have to be back in Grand Haven for a 10 o'clock. 16th is open, the 12th could be flexible.
I'm at the 12th or the 15th. How about you?
15th is fine. Did you say 16?
16.
Yeah, but also we have quorum
Oh,
on
true.
the
Yeah.
fifteenth and we're part of the winter cat.
Let's try the 15th.
Okay.
And then,
10 or-
yeah, 10's fine. Yeah. Sorry,
No, that's okay. Whatever's greater.
Fridays are precious.
I would.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe at 10.
Start earlier. but
Well,
then
9
you're
would
only
work
got
better,
a half
that would
hour,
still
right?
be
Yeah,
interrupting.
wouldn't
my
make
meeting.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, this meeting adjourned. Thank you.